Your college football game day has come early.
Goes down the field for Sicky, goes up high. He's got get away from the cop speed, and the ball is free. Woo! What a hit! You got barbecue back there?
From underdog triumphs to powerhouse showdowns, we've got your winning playbook covered. It's BetQLU with Chris Mack, RJ Choppy, and John Martin, presented by BetMGM. The sports book born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly.
Oh, I don't even know if they know what they done did, but the three of us are back together again. Welcome in to BetQLU. We will get you set for college football every single weekend right here on the BetQL network. We being myself, Chris Mack, alongside my friends RJ Choppy and John Martin. Boys, it's good to be back together again.
Dude.
It's good to waft it in, breathe it in. That is football. It's in the air. That slight hint of mildew from the pads that didn't all the way dry out from yesterday afternoon's practice, and you got to put them back on the next morning for 2 days. Breathe it in. It's football. It's here. And week 1 is ready to go. Yeah, week 0. That's fun. It's so great we didn't even count it. SMU would probably like to not count it. Just barely getting by. A couple other teams, maybe not as pretty as they wanted it to be, but now we got a full week 1. We've got new teams and new spots. We've got new coaches in new spots. We got a brand new playoff alignment. So let's start there. As don't forget, you can watch the show every single week on the Odyssey Sports Channel on YouTube. And, of course, all weekend long, we are live right there inside your Odyssey app, AUDACY, as well as live coast to coast on the BetQL network. Let's start there. RJ Choppy, conference realignment. Pac-12 is now the Pac-2, not really a thing anymore. Texas and Oklahoma join the SEC. Oregon, USC, Washington, UCLA to the Big Ten. The Big 12 adds 4 more teams. It is a brave new world where basically winning a conference championship game, if you're one of those Power 4, is going to get you a bye directly into the round of 8 in this new 12-team playoff.
I love conference realignment. I know I'm probably the minority on this. I love it because I love chaos. I like other people's chaos. I don't like my chaos. I like other people's chaos. I love to drive by a non-fatal car accident. Just love it. 6 to 12 cars. Nobody really hurt. A couple of blown out tires, fender bender,
just enough for
maybe an
people
axle.
To have to pull over to the shoulder, right? Yeah.
Just enough for me to maybe pull the phone out and say, "Whoa, look at what's going on over here." Right? So I can get out of the group chats and do that stuff. So that's what I like. I like other people's chaos. That's what conference realignment is. It's other people's chaos. Because, look, I mean, I know the school I went to, we're not going anywhere. It's other people's chaos. Now, our conference, the SEC, is getting bigger. It's got its pluses, got its minuses to it. Big Ten, the same thing. The maps don't make any sense. None at all. There is no map again. I mean, just that's enough with that. But
geography isn't a thing anymore.
Geography is not a thing. Hey, state lines are arbitrary. You can't even see them when you're flying over them. So I'm here. I'm loving it.
Ask Jerry Lee Lewis about that maybe, but that's a long time ago. Dated reference. John Martin, you are our biggest group of 5 proponent. You are the champion of the group of 5. And now a group of 5 team is guaranteed a spot in this playoff, John. In fact, It very well may be the boys in your backyard, those Memphis Tigers in the AAC.
That's right. Listen, I fought for this. I went to Congress for this to make sure that you bozos, weren't going to leave us out. We were using the A word,
I know,
antitrust, and we got exactly what we wanted. So, and look, here's the thing: people are like, well, will they ever? Will they ever get away with it? Will they ever do away with the group of 5 spot? And the answer is absolutely not, because the team that gets to play that group of 5 team, they almost look at that as a bye. I mean, it's better than playing a Power 5 team. I'll say that. It's better than playing a fellow Power 5 team in that spot to move forward. So the group of 5 will always have a slot, and you're right. It could be Memphis this year, but I think it's a coin flip, between them, Boise State, Liberty will have a say. So I think those are probably the three that you're working with. But we'll get into that as the show goes on. It's good to be back. It's good to see your beautiful face again, man.
Man, look at you buttering me up, trying to get me to join, trying to get me to leave the Big Ten. We got SEC man over here in Choppy. You got me in Big Ten land. The big powerful bruisers. You're trying to get us to join the Group of Five side. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay loyal, John. I'm going to stay loyal to the Big Ten because you make a great point here. In all seriousness, like whoever ends up the 5th seed in the 12-team playoff is going to be the best Oh, stop it, please. Sam Hartman's not there anymore.
Every year.
You can end the love affair. Whoever ends up being the 5th seed is going to be the best non-conference champion in the country. I mean, that could be a Georgia. That could be an Oregon or Ohio State. And they get a first-round game on campus against Liberty or Boise or, all due respect, John, Memphis. I mean, you're right. It is. Yeah. It's almost like a glorified bye or a walkthrough. But this is also why I love the playoff, guys, because we say that, yet at the same time, it gives us the sense of possibilities that we get in the NCAA tournament every spring, which is, well, yeah, it should be a simple walkover, but there's always that chance. That Cinderella always has a chance, to little Mack can catch Glass Joe, Mike Tyson's punch-out analogy there, with one good punch, and he's down and out. And that possibility will exist. Maybe not in a year like this, where the Group of Five representative may not really be able to stand up to a very powerful 5 seed. I laid some of the options out there: Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, who knows? But some years, at a certain point, it's going to happen. And I think that's why we wanted an expanded playoff, is increased opportunities for all teams.
Yeah, well, think about this. I mean, Tulane beat USC 2 years ago in the Cotton Bowl. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that was a game that, Caleb Williams was in that game, right? Make no mistake about it. I mean, USC went for that. That wasn't one where they're like, we just don't care. We didn't make the playoff. Right. We don't care. No, they cared. They played their guys, and one of them went on to be, the number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL draft. So among many others, right? Among many other draft picks on that team. So, you get the right combination of a generational coach and a generational quarterback, anything absolutely can happen. And that's why this 12-team playoff is going to be absolutely electrifying.
We're going to get to Notre Dame's Week 1 matchup specifically against A&M in just a little bit. They got to go to College Station, Choppy. But what gives you belief that the Irish, despite not having the ability to play in a conference championship game, which would give them that bye to the top 4 in the second week of the playoff, what gives you – is it just the soft schedule? Is it the fact that if they get by A&M, they're kind of in the driver's seat until they get to the last 4 weeks of the season, and even then, there's really only 2 competitive opponents?
It's mainly that. It's mainly the schedule. Like, they're going to be in a position to where, they're going to be, if they get by A&M, they're a dog in what? 2 games the rest of the year, maybe.
That,
yeah. So that to me is it. And look, these are humans, and the entire situation that's going on with the Big 12 and UConn, where ESPN has a say, they're pressuring, hey, do this. Hey, and Fox like, hey, don't do this, do this. It's like, wait a second, now the TV networks are in on this? Well, I don't like the sounds of that, which tells me that the TV networks are in on the college football playoff, if you want to go hold that down, that whole conspiracy theory route. So, Notre Dame is probably going to get some, advantages, and they might get a little boost. And if you're the 5 seed, like you said, you're going to play the 12, which is probably going to be the Group of 5. And then you're going to play the 4 seed, which is probably going to be Oklahoma State, Utah.
Right.
Like, you couldn't ask for a better matchup. If you're if you're not going to be the 1, you want to be the 5.
Well, and I would say, by the way, the Group of 5 champion won't always be the 12. There will be a year potentially where, they could be, a 6, right? Yeah. I think there was a year where, if you just sort of go back and do the math recently, I think Cincinnati, when that year where they had a great year, I think they would have been 6th. So, again, it doesn't even have to, you can be the 5, you could be a different seed, the 11, whatever. Like, there are going to be multiple spots here to play a Group of 5 team that Power 5 teams should not complain about.
Notre Dame, for what it's worth, minus 175 to make the college football playoff. That puts them 5th on the board at BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And the highest on the board, the smallest dog, I guess, if we want to put it that way, from the Power 5 to make the playoff, Liberty at plus 375. John mentioned them earlier, mentioned Boise as well. They are 4-1 at BetMGM. Memphis, again, the aforementioned Tigers, at 6-1 to make the college football playoff if we're talking group of 5 representatives. Let's talk coaching changes because some big names are out, right? Saban goes to College Game Day. Jim Harbaugh runs off to L.A., he gets paid, which really is the key part there, not just avoiding the sanctions or suspensions or whatever would have come at Michigan, here nor there. But you've also got 11 other coaching changes, I want to say, if you count Trent Bray, who was the interim at Oregon State at the end of last year, gets the permanent gig. So 10 or 11 other new head coaches in place at Power 4 programs. You've also got an immense amount of stability in spots where teams could be in contention for playoff spots or conference championships. You know, Choppy in particular mentioned a couple of Big 12 teams in Oklahoma State and Utah earlier. Gundy and Whittingham, both been around forever. In the ACC, Dabo, still allergic to the portal, but still around and still kicking at Clemson. Mack Brown at UNC, obviously still there as well. Kirk Ferentz going to miss the first game this weekend, but still at Iowa. Brian Kelly, obviously tenured, even if it's been in multiple spots at LSU. He could certainly be in the playoff as well. John, when you look at the coaching changes, where do you think the biggest impact takes place? Is it Saban to DeBoer? Is it, I don't know. What spot do you look at and think the biggest impact could come from coaching change?
Yeah, don't lead the witness, right? Let the witness have their own testimony. I'm trying to lead the witness. I actually am going to say Mike Elko at Texas A&M.
Okay.
You know, that program needed some rejuvenation. There's no doubt about it. And I think Mike Elko is exactly the right guy for that place. I'm a believer that when you get it done at places where it historically has not been done, I know David Cutcliffe had some years, right? But the way that Mike Elko had Duke winning games last season, and how innovative he is offensively, and the job he did with Riley Leonard overall, I'm a believer when you do it at places where you don't have the resources, then you go to a place and you get those resources, right? You're like a train, man. You're a train going down the tracks. And I think Mike Elko was the hire of the cycle. I know Texas A&M fans didn't necessarily believe that, but they will. In about 3 to 4 weeks, they will.
Well, look, I mean, Elko is I think a really solid coach. I think it's a good pick. It's probably what I would have picked. But you stole it from me, so I won't say Mike Elko. Although right. I think he's perfect for the job. I honestly think Bill O'Brien is the guy. It's never been a great job, but I do believe he is a fantastic coach. What he did at Penn State right after Joe Pa was nothing short of amazing. He dragged like 4 different quarterbacks to the playoffs in the NFL. He was a bad GM, and that was a bad situation. But I think he's a really good offensive mind. And I think Boston College is kind of one of those sneaky teams, not necessarily this year, but in the next couple of years that, all right, if they're fighting for the back end of the playoff in 4 years, it's not going to stun me. It's a rich alumni. They want to get in on the NIL. It doesn't sound like it, but he's a pretty decent coach. So I think O'Brien is one of those guys.
Yeah, in a conference that's probably maxing out, depending on any given year, what the competition and schedule is like, is maxing out at 2 teams probably in the playoff. You're gonna have to jump up and surprise some people to be playoff worthy, I think. But I think you make a great point about Bill O'Brien. Anyway, watching what he did firsthand at Penn State was, like you said, Choppy, just ridiculous what he was able to do to keep things together there and keep it from all falling apart. And yeah, quality coach, if not the best NFL GM in the world as well. That's one to keep an eye on, certainly. We're going to talk about Mike Elko a little bit more because we are going to talk, like I mentioned, that Notre Dame A&M game a little bit later. We'll talk about what we think the complexion of the playoffs may look like. How many teams from each conference who's going to win each conference, who is our official pick for the group of 5 representative. We'll even make national championship picks a little bit later as well. But plenty of big games to preview in just a moment. LSU, USC out in Vegas. LSU keeps finding themselves in these big week 1 games against big-time opponents. Miami in the swamp for the first time in nearly 2 decades. And we'll start with one that we've seen before, but not quite with the same exact faces and maybe not at the same exact time of year, although a few years ago they did it. We'll start with Clemson, number 14 Tigers, and the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs, almost 2 touchdowns, and we'll lead off with that one next, right here on BetQLU, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
You've been listening to BetQLU, presented by BetMGM. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the new and improved Odyssey app.
Are you ready, sir? Start your engines. Let's go.
Astros money line versus the Marlins. Johnny Cueto, no thank you. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How does this affect me personally?
Which is absolutely bonkers to me.
If you do the middle school math, is 117 yards per game that you gotta post each and every weekend.
I knew it.
Who has the upper hand? Do we think it's going to be the offenses, or do we think it's going to be the defenses?
How about Saturday's game? Let's just throw a random game out here.
Like, I don't want to put faith in NC State. There's a chance we'll lose outright. Who knows? Jinx is definitely not paying attention right now. He's just vibing to the music.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Go for the betting cycle on BetQL with Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
Sports handicapper Rob Brown.
When Penix Jr. plays USC, he's getting 400 yards.
Cycling all the top plays.
And Cody Decker, I think Florida can cover today.
And one outrageous show parlay.
1, 2, 3.
Let the chaos begin. It's Bet for the Cycle on the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Some would say that maybe he'll be chasing Super Bowl MVP. Really makes me angry that, like, Knicks fans can't have anything. We've been bad for... I get it. Now it's, okay, 100% of attention on 9 million games tonight. It's a playoff game! We've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends. And it ends with absolute disaster. But I'll tell you, that's fun. But the most fun thing about betting on sports for me is this. Like, hey, there's no tomorrow. And now, come on, pick it in.
Are you ready, sir? Start your engines. Let's go.
Astros money line versus the Marlins. Johnny Cueto, no thank you. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How does this affect me personally?
Which is absolutely bonkers to me.
If you do the middle school math, is 117 yards per game that you gotta post each and every weekend.
I knew it.
Who has the upper hand? Do we think it's going to be the offenses, or do we think it's going to be the defenses?
How about Saturday's game? Let's just throw a random game out here.
Like, I don't want to put faith in NC State. There's a chance we'll lose outright. Who knows? Jinx is definitely not paying attention right now. He's just vibing to the music.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Some would say that maybe he'll be chasing Super Bowl MVP. Really makes me angry that Knicks fans can't have anything. We've been bad for. I get it. Now it's okay. 100% of attention on 9 million games tonight. It's a playoff game. We've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends, and it ends with absolute disaster.
But I'll tell you, that's fun. But the most fun thing about betting on sports for me is this.
Hey, there's no tomorrow. Now, come on, pick it in.
Let's get back to BetQLU, presented by BetMGM.
And welcome back in. It is BetQLU for week 1 of the college football season. Yeah, the first official week, second official weekend, but first full official weekend of the college football season. And we are going to have you covered absolutely every single weekend, all season long here on BetQLU. We'll be with you Friday nights, Saturday mornings, getting you ready for things right here on the Odyssey Sports YouTube channel, and of course live coast to coast on the BetQL network. You can also download it on demand. We get it ready for you on Fridays right there inside your Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search BetQLU. Alongside RJ Choppy and John Martin, who's going to jump back into the conversation momentarily. We got plenty of games to preview, and in just a couple minutes, we'll take a look at who we think our favorite conference winners may be, especially when we look at some of the numbers that are out there, some of the prices, who we like to win the national championship, and just how many playoff teams may filter into this 12-team field from each conference. But let's start. Before we get to LSU, Southern Cal, before we get to Notre Dame, A&M, before we get to Miami in the Swamp against the Gators, Choppy, let's start with number 14 Clemson Tigers visiting the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. Saturday, noon Eastern, a 13.5-point spread on this one. These two, an instant defensive classic a couple years ago when they met in the opener. Not a single offensive touchdown in that game. A lot's changed since then, but both teams very stout up front on the defensive line. This will be the second year together for Cade Klubnik and Garrett Riley, the offensive coordinator at Clemson. Last year, maybe a little bit of an adjustment period for each of them. Phil Maffa takes over as the lead dog in the backfield. In my opinion, even better than Will Shipley. No major losses in the portal, no major additions either because, it's Dabo. Georgia, on the other hand, brutal schedule, and this is the way they kick it off. Just 3 true home games. This one, de facto home game, right? At the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. They are 10-1, though, straight up in their last 10 season openers, including 2 wins over Clemson. Only 6-3 against the spread for what it's worth, but they got Carson Beck, a Heisman candidate. Trevor Etienne in the backfield ahead of the Robinson twins, so a 3-headed monster there running the ball. Receiving core, I think, is the issue that I worry about. Bowers and McConkey gone. Rob Thomas dismissed from the team a couple months ago. That may be the one spot I look and say, do they have all the weapons they need on the offensive side of the ball?
That's the big question. There's some turnover there. I mean, obviously the quarterback is stabilized, but you lose a major threat in Bowers, and then, like you said, McConkey as well. But, look, this is about what Clemson has become. And what are they? Like, are they more name at this point? Like, does the program still carry the same weight it did 5 years ago? And I don't think anybody would say yes. It's not the same program that it was. The portal, the NIL has killed that program, and until Dabo wants to get on board with it, I think they're in for a rude awakening. I think this could get ugly. I mean, I'm not like going to be out here saying, "Oh, dude, I am betting the house on Georgia minus 13.5." But I'm looking at it like, okay, if Georgia struggles in this game, it's going to make a lot of folks in the SEC very, very happy because they got Texas, they got Alabama, they got Tennessee on their schedule ahead of them. So I honestly think that this is one of those things. I would lay the Georgia in the 13.5. I'm not, like I said, not betting the house on it, but this thing I do think has a chance to get ugly.
This is interesting, though, because as we mentioned, it opened at 13.5 and throughout the week has continued to come down to the point where, late Thursday night, early Friday morning, it was all the way down to 11.5 at a couple spots, including at BetMGM. So with that being said, as this number continues to tighten up, is that Clemson steam? Is that the public that maybe you're not leaning all in on with in week one? It'll be interesting to see if the line moves any more before kickoff. But again, as of Thursday night, Friday morning, this thing was down a full 2 points from where it opened, 13.5 to 11.5. So if you're looking to roll with Georgia like you are, Choppy, then you're definitely getting a better number at this point. I don't know. It feels like in a game that should be a little bit more of a defensive battle between these two teams, I'm not sure if I'm willing to go 2 touchdowns. The 13.5 is too much. You start to tighten it up, though. You get it closer to 11, and I think I'm probably getting closer to the point where I wouldn't be in on Clemson. If we were still close to 2 touchdowns, I might roll the dice with Clemson, but this one, the number is making this one a tougher one to get in on. 3:30 kick Eastern time, Saturday in the Swamp, Gainesville. Number 19, Miami Hurricanes, visiting Florida, Choppy. For the first time since 2008, they've been to the Swamp. They've lost 3 of their last 5 road openers, but they have completely remade their offense. Both sides of the ball, really.
Mm-hmm.
They went on a portal frenzy.
Yes.
And look, you can't blame them. They needed to do something, right? Because Mario Cristobal, this is a get off the pot kind of season. Like his 3rd year in Miami, he's got to get it together. And it's not just game day coaching. It's go out and get the talent maybe to insulate yourself from the game day coaching mistakes. Cam Ward comes in from Washington State. Damian Martinez from Oregon State. So they raid the 2 remaining members of the not so many pack anymore. Sam Brown from Houston. Zach Carpenter, the offensive lineman from Indiana. 3 transfer starters on defense. Florida on the other side, talk about schedules. Most difficult schedule in the country, according to the man, Phil Steele. 11 games against Power 4 schools, including this one. They get Central Florida in October. They're at Florida State. They got to go to Tallahassee the final weekend of the season. And look, we like to bag on Graham Mertz. He did lead the SEC in completion percentage last year for what it's worth. Only 3 picks, but he's still Graham Mertz. This is going to be the 2nd consecutive year of losing at least 5 starters on defense for Florida. I think it's going to be a tough year for them. This lines up with Miami only having to lay 2.5. I like the Canes to go in and take care of business in the Swamp.
I like the Canes as well. I like Cam Ward. I love also that they are going full troll here because Florida's doing a whiteout and Miami's like, oh, okay, we'll just wear all white uniforms. And I love that. So, no, I think Miami's a better team. Napier's got a tough road ahead, man. Like, he was done no favors with this schedule and basically a must. I mean, it's not even a bowl year. They got to win 8 games, I think, for him to even have a prayer at keeping that job. So this is a tough proposition for him ahead, and it gets off on the wrong foot. And if they don't win this game, I don't know that he makes it to November. I really don't. It's that tough for them.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule, again, for Florida is just absolutely and look, this is part of what happens when you get into these mega power conferences. There are some years you're going to get a nice soft schedule, right? There are some years you're going to get absolute brutality like this. Miami and A&M both visit in the first 3 weeks of the season. You got to go to Knoxville. You mentioned that's what is it, week 5, week 6, I think it is. You may not make it past that one. They go to Athens, one of those 3 home games, SEC home games for Georgia. They got to host
the cocktail
LSU.
party, right? That's probably
You're right. It is the cocktail party. You're right. I take that back. It is. It's in Jacksonville. But still, they got to go to Texas. They got to host LSU. They got to host Ole Miss. And then they go to Tallahassee the final week of the season. They could use a nice big upset win early in the year as a home dog. I'm not counting on it being this one. Interesting note, Cam McCormick, the backup to the number 2 tight end for Miami. He's in his 9th year of eligibility, Choppy. He's a year older than each of us. Just turned 26 in April, and he's still playing. He's had like 4 years wiped out by injury and COVID. So good for Cam McCormick that he's still in there and getting it done. All right, Saturday night game. This is the one we mentioned or alluded to a couple times earlier. Number 7 Notre Dame Fighting Irish going to College Station to face the number 20 Aggies. A&M favored by 3. They've won 11 straight home openers, 7 of them against the spread. If Connor Wigman can stay healthy, they've got an experienced offensive line, John, experienced wide receiver room, NFL pedigree, right? Moose Muhammad. They've got same thing in the running back room, right? Multiple names that can lead the pack if they need them to, but Emmitt Smith's kid, EJ, is in there. They could have the best running back room in the SEC in College Station, and they've got a defense-first head coach now in Elko. So you bookend a somewhat soft schedule, no Georgia, no Bama, no Ole Miss, with at least one win against, I don't know, Notre Dame or Texas late. This could be a 9-3 team, John. This could be a playoff team. A 9-3 in the SEC might get you in.
Yeah, for sure. I think in terms of this week, I think the number is pretty right. I don't necessarily. I mean, if it ever got to 2.5 for whatever reason, obviously I would be on Texas A&M. But look, we know what Mike Elko can do with quarterbacks. I think we've seen his track record, and again, you're talking about a guy that's got real resources now at A&M, and that's a program that's underachieved relative to their war chest. And you go out and you hire somebody that's innovative and creative, and so I certainly expect that to be on display in week 1. I do think there's a coaching mismatch. I do think there's a big edge to Texas A&M in that regard. I mean, we've seen Marcus Freeman in big games. I still am trying to figure out how he lost to Ohio State a year ago. I don't think I've quite figured that out yet. So I'm Texas A&M here, but I do think the price is right at 3.
It's come down to 2.5 in a few spots, actually. Back down to 2.5. If you find that, maybe that's a jump-in spot for you. A lot of turnover at the offensive skill positions, too, Choppy, for the Irish. Riley Leonard is sort of the cherry on top of that for them. Mm-hmm. Is he 100% following what was a pretty catastrophic injury last year? It's been a long time coming back. He should be. We'll see. 9 returning starters on defense. That's Notre Dame's strength, right? Especially that secondary. One of the best in the country. If they can slow down the opposition, if they can make games ugly, I think there's a chance for Marcus Freeman to survive another year there in Notre Dame. But you mentioned it earlier. The expectations are super high in South Bend this year.
Well, they're high every year. They're Notre Dame. And the way the portal is now where you could get yourself an upperclassman quarterback. Did the same thing last year with Sam Hartman. And now they get Leonard, and it's just they get themselves an upperclassman quarterback who's been around the block. There's no growing pains. There's no speed of the game issues coming from high school, starting a true freshman or anything. I mean, that's a major advantage. You tack on a relatively manageable schedule to the point where if you beat A&M on the road and then A&M beats LSU, A&M beats Florida State or whoever they play, or Florida, whoever they play at the end of the year, right? They win those games. Now you're like, okay, now that school, that win that you had 4 months ago that we all forgot, all of a sudden looks better. So this is a huge game for Notre Dame, and while I do think A&M absolutely should be the favorite, this is one of those, like, if Notre Dame wins this game, they absolutely, I believe, are going to go to the playoff. And they're going to, unless they have a complete collapse down the stretch.
Yeah. Bet $50, get 1,000 BetMGM rewards points. No sports book with a more exciting rewards club than BetMGM. All you got to do is opt in inside your BetMGM Sportsbook app and earn your BetMGM rewards points. Then check out all the ways you can take advantage of those points. Your BetMGM rewards points can be used at the rewards store inside the app, or you can even redeem them for hotel stays, concert tickets, resort benefits, so much more. Opt in, bet $50 on any sport, then instantly get 1,000 BetMGM rewards points. Visit the BetMGM rewards store to redeem them. And again, use them for all kinds of bonuses and BetMGM app, as well as at MGM Resorts. You get perks there, Marriott Bonvoy credits, and so much more. We've got one more game specifically that we want to dive into. LSU USC on Sunday night in Vegas. We'll do that. We'll give you our picks for who we think will win each of the Power 4 conferences, as well as who the Group of 5 representative will be, and some national championship picks as well as we roll on here. Week 1 is up and underway, and we are moving. Alongside John Martin and RJ Choppy, I'm Chris Mack. This is BetQL.
You've been listening to BetQL, presented by BetMGM. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the new and improved Odyssey app.
Are you ready, sir? Start your engines. Let's go.
Astros money line versus the Marlins. Johnny Cueto, no thank you. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How does this affect me personally?
Which is absolutely bonkers to me.
If you do the middle school math, is 117 yards per game that you gotta post each and every weekend.
I knew it.
Who has the upper hand? Do we think it's going to be the offenses, or do we think it's going to be the defenses?
How about Saturday's game? Let's just throw a random game out here.
Like, I don't want to put faith in NC State. There's a chance we'll lose outright. Who knows? Jinx is definitely not paying attention right now. He's just vibing to the music.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Go for the betting cycle on BetQL with Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
Sports handicapper Rob Brown.
When Penix Jr. plays USC, he's getting 400 yards.
Cycling all the top plays.
And Cody Decker, I think Florida can cover today.
And one outrageous show parlay.
1, 2, 3.
Oh! Let the chaos begin. It's Bet for the Cycle on the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Some would say that maybe he'll be chasing Super Bowl MVP. Really makes me angry that, like, Knicks fans can't have anything. We've been bad for... I get it. Now it's, okay, 100% of attention on 9 million games tonight. It's a playoff game! We've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends. And it ends with absolute disaster.
But I'll tell you, that's fun. But the most fun thing about betting on sports for me is this.
Like, hey, there's no tomorrow. Now, come on, put Pickett in.
Are you ready, sir? Start your engines. Let's go.
Astros money line versus the Marlins. Johnny Cueto, no thank you. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How does this affect me personally?
Which is absolutely bonkers to me.
If you do the middle school math, is 117 yards per game that you gotta post each and every weekend.
I knew it.
Who has the upper hand? Do we think it's going to be the offenses or do we think it's going to be the defenses?
How about Saturday's game? Let's just throw a random game out here.
Like, I don't want to put faith in NC State. There's a chance we'll lose outright. Who knows? Jinx is definitely not paying attention right now. He's just vibing to the music.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL's Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Some would say that maybe he'll be chasing Super Bowl MVP. Really makes me angry that, like, Knicks fans can't have anything. We've been bad for... I get it. Now it's, okay, 100% of attention on 9 million games tonight. It's a playoff game. We've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends. And it ends with absolute disaster.
But I'll tell you, that's fun. But the most fun thing about betting on sports for me is this.
Like, hey, there's no tomorrow. Now, come on, put Pickett in.
Let's get back to BetQLU, presented by BetMGM.
How good it is to be back together, the three of us again, getting you ready for college football every single weekend right here on the BetQL Network, live coast to coast, wherever you may be in your Odyssey app, always on demand, AUDACY. Wherever you get your podcast, just search BetQLU, and we will get you through the biggest games every single week. And in just a minute, we tell you who we think will win each of those Power Four conferences and who we like for the national championship as well. We'll even throw a group of 5 pick in there for you as well. Alongside John Martin and RJ Choppy, I'm Chris Mack. Thank you for watching if you're doing it there on the Odyssey Sports channel on YouTube as well, or on Twitch, twitch.tv/BetQL. One final big game we wanted to preview, boys, and it's Sunday night, 7:30 Eastern kickoff in Vegas. Number 13 LSU Tigers against the number 23 Southern California Trojans. LSU, the shortest dog in the country at BetMGM, at least, plus 125 to make the playoff. 8 teams are favored. They are the first dog on the board to make the playoff. They haven't won an opener since 2019, though, against Georgia Southern. They've got to replace Jaden Daniels, although, okay, I get it. Nussmeier's on the periphery of that second tier of Heisman guys in the 16 to 22 to 1 range. And 9 other starters have to be replaced. A softer SEC schedule, though, right? No Georgia and no Texas. They get Bama, Ole Miss, Oklahoma all at home. That plays into Brian Kelly's advantage. They returned 6 of their 12 starters on defense, more improved in the secondary, Choppy, more experienced up front, definitely, than last year. And their new kind of old defensive coordinator, Blake Baker, who's the highest paid assistant in college football. LSU this year, playoff team at plus 125 or in a dogfight in a really stacked SEC?
Oh, they're in a dogfight. I mean, they're not a great team. They're going to be lumped in with the, those 10 to 20 ranked teams basically all season long. And they're breaking in a new quarterback, and that's a big issue. Now, look, so is USC. And Lincoln Riley's had his, he's had his is quarterbacks that have basically all become number one picks, and the next one is just going to be the next in line. But LSU has struggled in these season openers. Look, are they a good quality football team? Yeah, they're LSU. They have talent everywhere. They're going to dominate the defensive line. They're going to dominate at certain positions. They're going to have great wide receivers, but there's going to be some hiccups at the quarterback position like there should be. And if you look at it, there's a reason why the pros aren't figuring out this game. It's basically a net zero pro betting advantage. Like, they're not really going hard on this one the way they might be on, say, the Georgia-Clemson game where there's a 20% pro betting advantage. So, boy, it's a hard pass for me right now.
John, Southern Cal, third toughest schedule in the country. Welcome to the Big Ten, by the way. They get to replace the first overall draft pick at quarterback. Defense should be improved, although it can't be any worse than last year or the year before that, for that matter. They poached DeAnthony Lynn from UCLA across town. This is the first of at least half a dozen landmines as I see it on their schedule. The number open near a touchdown, 6.5. It's down, and it's settled right around 4.5 in most spots. Still a random 4 out there in places. Still a random 5 out there in places. But I think to Choppy's point here, John, this is a tough one to get your arms around, and it's settled right at a number that's very difficult to get your arms around, 4.5.
Yeah, I think the play for me would probably be on the total. And I would definitely be on the over here. I mean, I get that, USC is going to sell this new defensive coordinator, and you're right. I mean, what was it, Alex Grinch, one of the worst defenses in the country he presided over. And I realized that, LSU lost a lot, but they still have the best offensive line in America. And great offensive lines can make, mediocre players look a lot better than they are. And on the USC side, like, we know they're capable of putting up points under Lincoln Riley. So I think the what we won't know necessarily is, like, with the helmet communications, like which teams are going to take longer, which teams are not. But it feels like to me that the fast teams are going to play faster. And I think this is, a total that probably would have been in the, mid-70s last season. I think you're kind of getting a discount. Granted, worse players for sure. But I still think this is an over all day long. I don't see many stops in this game whatsoever.
It's going to be a hell of a week one slate, boys. Can't wait to bet it. It got a little crazy on Thursday night, continued into Friday, and certainly Saturday and Sunday will be fun. I mean, come on, 4 or 5 straight days of college football. Who doesn't like that? And this just week one with another 3 months to go before we even settle what the playoff field is going to look like. So let's do it. Let's predict it. I'm going to ask you guys to predict each of your Power 4 conference champions and your group of 5 representative. And I'll give you time to think. And then we'll do Natty national championship picks on the way out the door, too. I'm going to go, and John already brought them up. They've got literally the softest schedule in the country. Liberty as the group of 5 representative. They're plus 375 at BetMGM to make the playoff. I think they edge out Memphis, Boise State, some of the other group of 5 teams that we mentioned. Big Ten, I'm going to go with a newcomer, Oregon, at 2-1 to outlast Ohio State. I think it's going to be those two back and forth all year. But, yeah, give me – and at BetMGM, it's plus 195 right now, almost 2-1 to take any of the newcomers versus the field to win the Big Ten. So Oregon, UCLA, Washington, USC – to win the 2024 Big Ten championship, almost 2-1 at BetMGM. You can also get really good odds on newcomers Oklahoma, Texas to win the SEC, or Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, the 4 corner schools to win the Big 12 with some special newcomer versus the field markets there at BetMGM. In the ACC, give me one of the teams we already talked about. I think Mario Cristobal breaks through this year at Miami, plus 425 to win the ACC. And some longer shots in the SEC and the Big 12. The Big 12, I mentioned it earlier. Actually, Choppy brought him up first. Oklahoma State, almost 9-1. You can find them at that number in some spots, plus 850 at BetMGM to win the Big 12. I think it's them or Utah. Certainly, they're going to play a massive game on September 21st, early in the season. I think they meet again later in Arlington in early December. And I think Mike Gundy has so many returning starters, so much talent on this team, and he is experienced enough to know what it takes to get it done. It's going to be Oklahoma State in the Big 12. In SEC, Lane Kiffin. Yep. Ole Miss. Jackson Dart. Give it to me, baby. Plus 850. A breakthrough year there as well.
Yeah.
So, Choppy, what do you got?
Are you unwell? I like it, though. I like it, man. I like it. All right, so for the group of five, I'm with you. I like Liberty. Shout out Caden Salter from Cedar Hill, Texas. Big fan. So give me Liberty there. I do like Oklahoma State in the Big 12. I think the Big 12 is a two-horse race for the most part, and I like the fact that the conference championship game is going to be a home game for Oklahoma State. I'll take Georgia in the SEC. I think they're I just think they're the best team in the country right now, and they got they probably the best quarterback in the country as well. Give me Ohio State and all that NIL money in the Big Ten. I think it's that's another situation where I probably am boiling that down to a two-horse race. I am with you on Miami. I think Miami is a sneaky good value to get out of the ACC. We've already seen Florida State fall. I expect Clemson to not be the greatest team this year. So those are my 4 Power 5 and the group of 5 teams.
All right, John, what do you got? Is this the obligatory Memphis mention time?
Man, I like Memphis, but their defense was so bad last season. And they did bring in some quality Power 5 transfers that I do like, and they have a new defensive coordinator, but there hasn't been that much change. So I'm supposed to sort of believe all of a sudden that, it's going to be, night and day different. I mean, the offense is going to be one of the best in America, but the defense just spooks me. And they do play a tough schedule. They go to Florida State. They go to UTSA. They go to Tulane. Those are 3 really difficult road games. Even if you go 2-1, which is a big stretch, that means you can't afford any slip-ups anywhere else. So I think Liberty is going to be the pick for me, in this one, just because of, they play such a whack schedule, and they're going to have a path to 12-0. So, they're a favorite to go 12-0. So I will say Liberty for the group of 5. SEC is going to be Georgia until further notice. I'm just not picking against Kirby Smart and that group. I mean, I don't see any holes in that defense. They just rebuild and retool and replenish. So until someone actually dethrones them in the regular season, I will have Georgia in the playoff from the SEC as the conference champ. Big Ten, I'm going to agree with RJ, and I'm going to go Ohio State because that defense, Will Howard's going to be an upgrade over McCord. RJ might actually be an upgrade over Kyle McCord. So if you address that position, you're obviously already stout defensively, one of the best teams in America defensively. ACC, I am going to say Clemson because if not now, if not this team, when is it ever going to happen again for Dabo? It's got to be now. It's really now or never for me with Clemson. And then the Big 12, I'm going to go Utah. I'm kind of surprised that neither one of you guys went with Utah and Cam Rising and the coaching staff there. I mean, I feel like they're as equipped as anybody to come in and win that league. So those would be my picks for the playoff.
Yeah, I don't hate Utah in the Big 12 either. I think we're all in the same pair of teams there. I just think the price is so much better on Oklahoma State, almost 9-1. Utah right around 2-1.
We're trying to be right, though. I mean, you're trying to nice little looking ticket. I'm trying to be correct, bro.
I'm trying to get some ROI here, John. Real quick, out the door. We got like 60 seconds. National championship picks. I'm taking the Ducks. Oregon at plus 750, and they do it over Ole Miss in the national championship game. Choppy.
Let me have it right here. Nope, wrong. Give me Georgia. I'll give you Georgia. I'm not taking Texas. Absolutely not. I just wanted to do that. I'll take Georgia, like John said, until further notice.
John,
I'm going to go Georgia. Georgia over Ohio State, though. It'll be a rematch from a couple of years ago in the college football playoff, and it'll be Georgia once again prevailing, probably in a close one in the title game.
All right, until further notice, I guess this is still a Bulldogs show. I'll stand strong with my boy Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart, and we will talk about everything that goes down in Week 1 next weekend and preview Week 2 for you as well. Don't forget, you can take us with you wherever you're going inside your Odyssey app. That's also where you download us on demand in podcast form by searching for BetQLU.
You've been listening to BetQLU, presented by BetMGM. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the new and improved Odyssey app.
Are you ready, sir? Start your engines. Let's go.
Astros money line versus the Marlins. Johnny Cueto, no thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How does this affect me personally?
Which is absolutely bonkers to me.
If you do the middle school math, is 117 yards per game that you gotta post each and every weekend.
I knew it.
Who has the upper hand? Do we think it's going to be the offenses or do we think it's going to be the defenses?
How about Saturday's game? Let's just throw a random game out here.
I don't want to put faith in NC State. There's a chance we'll lose outright. Who knows? Jinx is definitely not paying attention right now. He's just vibing to the music.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Go for the betting cycle on BetQL with Cody Decker.
Cody Decker, former professional baseball player, turned professional smartass on the radio.
Sports handicapper Rob Brown.
When Penix Jr. plays USC, he's getting 400 yards.
Cycling all the top plays.
And Cody Decker, I think Florida can cover today.
And one outrageous show parlay.
1, 2, 3.
Let the chaos begin. It's Bet for the Cycle on the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Some would say that maybe he'll be chasing Super Bowl MVP. Really makes me angry that Knicks fans can't have anything. We've been bad for. I get it. Now it's okay. 100% of attention on 9 million games tonight. It's a playoff game. We've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends, and it ends with absolute disaster.
But I'll tell you, that's fun. But the most fun thing about betting on sports for me is this.
Hey, there's no tomorrow. And now, come on, put it in.
Are you ready, sir? Start your engines. Let's go.
Astros money line versus the Marlins. Johnny Cueto, no thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How does this affect me personally?
Which is absolutely bonkers to me.
If you do the middle school math, is 117 yards per game that you gotta post each and every weekend.
I knew it.
Who has the upper hand? Do we think it's going to be the offenses or do we think it's going to be the defenses?
How about Saturday's game? Let's just throw a random game out here.
I don't want to put faith in NC State. There's a chance we'll lose outright. Who knows? Jinx is definitely not paying attention right now. He's just vibing to the music.
Are you ready for the most interactive sports gambling show? Introducing BetQL Send It In with PJ Glasser. We want to hear from you. Send It In is about your picks, your trends, and your fades. Share your thoughts, predictions, and your best daily best bets with the Send It In community. Set your reminders, mark your calendars, and get ready to send it in on weekday afternoons at 1 Eastern on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. On your home for wagertainment, the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Some would say that maybe he'll be chasing Super Bowl MVP. Really makes me angry that Knicks fans can't have anything. We've been bad for. I get it. Now it's okay. 100% of attention on 9 million games tonight. It's a playoff game. We've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends, and it ends with absolute disaster.
But I'll tell you, that's fun. But the most fun thing about betting on sports for me is this. Like, hey, there's no tomorrow. And now, come on, put pick it